So I got it all built, and I got it flying, and I did the first flight tests on the aircraft.
How did you feel when it's your first time to test it? How was it like?
Let me see. It's a good.
Self-assassinated, I'm faded, wasted, playing naked on a vacant beach.
I've got it on video. I've got a great
Oh,
video.
that's good.
Yeah, I've got a great video
maybe you
of
can
it.
share it with the audience
Right,
and
and
a
then,
little bit clip of these things.
Well, there was so much effort to get it into the air.
Right.
It's you're not thinking about how do you feel. It's all just one more step in front of the other.
Right.
So I'm very proficient in this airframe,
Right.
so I can fly the airframe. The only difference was, and I'm actually proficient with the engine,
Right.
just mating the two together, and then coming up with a proper program so that you have the best and safest possible outcome. So there was a couple of deficiencies that I figured out before I took the airplane flying and did the testing and made sure that those were correct. And then, fuel systems, there's numerous things. But so then I was confident, and so that really wasn't, it was a non-event.
Right.
And then, so I have, being a pilot at NASA and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
I have the whole fireproof costume,
That's
helmets,
awesome.
masks, and everything, right? But I'm working on the plane, trying to get the airplane flying. The airplane's ready to go. I jump in the plane, I take off in the plane, I come back around and I do a couple landings with the plane, and I come in and then I'm reviewing the video, and I'm just wearing a jacket and jeans. And I was, I had my opportunity to wear my little, costume. Yes.
Your suit.
That's right.
Your flight suit.
And then I didn't even wear my flight suit for my own, when it was probably the most appropriate time.
Right,
Because if
that
I
time.
crashed, you want somebody to be
no.
able to pull you out of the airplane. It's on fire. You don't want your, you don't want to be a human candle.
But so the first time on the air, there was no, to you, it was just a natural flight, or
Yeah, no,
something?
it worked very, very well. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. And I understand you've used other people to help you out test it too. And how
Right.
did they
So
do
then
it?
after the initial flight, just prior to the initial flight, then we have to get approval from the FAA, and they grant us what's called a special airworthiness certificate. And so they take the original standard category airworthiness certificate, and then they give us a special one. And then the special one says that I can only fly in a certain area. I got to stay away from schools and congested, right? So I don't create a hazard to other people. And so I got my special airworthiness certificate, and then I have to work with the aircraft certification office, and they give me blocks of regulations, and they want me to show compliance to these regulations, and then so all the flight characteristics of the aircraft, and is it safe and all this type of thing, right? How does it fly? And so they would give me these things. I would have to take and figure out how I'm going to show compliance, right, with that thing, come up with the test to do it, and then we had the aircraft instrumented with extra airspeed and altimeters and this type of stuff, and so I have redundant systems, and then I had to take somebody with me so that they could record all this stuff. So I was using my office staff here at the Flying V Ranch.
I heard about that
That's
a little bit.
And so I was using my office staff to come with me, and so they would get in the plane with me, and then they would record all the stuff. I tried to use my pilot, Amico. Them it was very difficult, and made them nauseated. You know what I mean?
They could have used a tape recorder while you're doing it. They could just instead of writing it down, was that possible at all?
Well, it's not. Well, Well, you'd have to do it twice then.
Yeah.
But if you can write it all the first time,
that's right.
That's right. So if you just write it all, if you
If
can
they're
just write it all
coherent
down,
enough to
that's
do
right.
it,
Right.
you know.
And then also if we don't get the data just right, then you'll know by the numbers and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So it's
Yeah.
easier to grind through, and then somebody would have to go through the whole event over a second time.
Oh, that is pretty exciting,
Mhm.
you know, to do this. But it's a lot of patience and time to be able to finish this part of the.
Right, and then let me see some of the highlights of the flight testing. So the aircraft has so much power now.
Mm-hmm.
One of the requirements was to demonstrate what we call as a power on stall.
Mm-hmm.
And so they already derated my power back quite a bit from the manufacturer's full power.
Mm-hmm.
And then during these power on stalls, I've got the airplane almost straight up in the air, and the airplane's hanging on the power of the engine.
Mm-hmm.
And the both the airspeed indicators, which we needed to record the numbers, read 0, right? Or they were unreadable because it was so low. And then I submitted that data to the aircraft certification office. They either didn't like it, but they wanted to see it again. So I had to videotape these. So
Well,
I had to do that test again, that particular one,
Uh-huh.
and then I had to record that and then send them the recordings. Well, one of the aspects is that the airplane has to be flyable by a pilot with standard capabilities or basic capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to maintain the aircraft at these high pitch angles that I could
Right.
maintain control of it, but without a reading on airspeeds and stuff like
Right.
that. The FAA didn't like, so they reduced my maximum power allowable again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one thing that was interesting. One of the other ones was I had to go to the highest certified altitude, so I went to 23,000 feet, and we had to do 3.8 Gs, almost 4 Gs.
Mm-hmm. Explain that. What is that like? You know.
Well, the first to get to that altitude, the engine makes enough horsepower, so the
Right.
airplane got there no problem. And then we have the airplane loaded full of. In the end, the testing was all done with lead, but I used concrete,
Uh-huh.
and so I had large concrete blocks in the airplane secured, so the airplane was at its gross weight in the farthest aft CG limit. And we go up, climb up real high. We have to wear oxygen and that type of stuff.
Wow.
And then once we're at that altitude, I get the airplane going fast enough. I got to get up to a maneuvering speed, and then get the airplane going as fast as I can at that power setting and everything. And then I pull real hard on the airplane. So bang, the
Right.
airplane pull
With
as
somebody
hard as
with
I
you
can.
on that?
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I needed somebody to record.
Jeez.
And then while I'm doing this, so almost 4 Gs, that means 4 times your weight.
Right.
I don't think you weigh even 100 pounds.
I do.
Right?
I weigh
So you
100
would
pounds.
weigh 400 pounds.
Oh wow! No wonder why you feel like a concrete when you're up there and you're doing this.
Right. Well, no,
steep turn
I
and
had
everything.
800 pounds of concrete in the back
Right.
also. Right?
Oh yeah.
And so the wings have to support, yeah, 10,000 pounds almost. The wings have to
Jeez.
support, right?
Yes.
Or even more. And can't do the math fast enough. And so, so you do this, and then while I'm doing this almost 4G turn,
Right.
I have to measure the stick control forces. And so I have a scale on the yoke while I'm doing it,
Right.
and then I have to, and I've had to do this, but this is kind of one of the dramatic ones. And so the airplane, you're pulling the airplane through this turn really hard, and if the CG, the propeller, the engine, if all this combination doesn't work well together, the airplane can want to pass itself,
Right.
and then it'll tumble out of the sky.
Uh-huh.
So you have to make sure that it doesn't do that. So this was
Oh.
one of the tests that I had to do, which was kind of one of the bigger dramatic style of tests. But the
If-
airplane passed.
The airplane passed and you did it. But in case, were you ready if something happened like that? Are you gonna be able
I'm
to
a professional skydiver.
You
so I would have lost the airplane though.
Like,